Young Alec Agret, a mischievous youth, often idled away his days fishing near the capital. One day, a flamboyant magician named Elda approached Alec, inquiring about his interest in magic. Initially, Alec mistook Eldas for DDS representative. However, it soon became clear that Eldas' true intention was simply to instruct him in the magical arts. Eldas promptly began instructing Alec on spellcasting, encouraging him to visualize future friendships. He emphasized the necessity of protecting his friend from monstrous assault, employing rather intense teaching techniques. Despite his rapid progress in mastering magic, Alec felt frustrated that a single spell still required an entire day of learning. He paid no heed to Eldas' quick remark that average individuals typically needed a month to grasp the same enchantment. Regularly, Alec requested another lesson, but Eldas informed the enthusiastic boy that one spell was sufficient for the day. Alec was displeased, yet Eldas stood firm, and they opted to spend the remainder of their time idly. They went fishing, during which Alec sulked persistently, until Eldas boosted his confidence. Eldas praised Alec's exceptional magical aptitude, asserting that he would become a formidable magician even without further instruction. He then advised Alec to trust destiny. Stunned by this revelation, Alec questioned Eldas. He asked why Eldas bothered teaching him magic at all. Before Eldas could reply, a fish bit his line. Eldas, having never caught a fish previously, panicked. Alec choked before assisting him. Alec remarked that a magician of Eldas' caliber should surely know how to fish. Regardless, their mentor-student relationship persisted. Over time, Eldas imparted extensive magical knowledge to Alec. However, Eldas abruptly declared his departure from the capital one day. Alec was heartbroken, realizing he might never see his mentor again. Yet, Eldas offered him one last piece of counsel. He advised Alec that should the opportunity arise to become a court magician, he ought to decline the position. Puzzled, Alec could grasp the meaning behind this and questioned why Eldas had taught him magic initially. Eldas' somber demeanor momentarily lifted as he spoke of Alec as the chased mountain, who had once rendered him a significant service. He explained he was merely repaying her kindness by instructing her son. That was Alec's final encounter with his teacher, and they subsequently strove to enroll in the Royal Magic Academy. Hoping to reunite with Eldas, Alec discovered that his former mentor had also been an alumnus of that very academy. Eldas had graduated as the valedictorian and swiftly became a court magician. Nevertheless, he was dismissed from that role within a few years. Alec then understood why Eldas had chosen him against becoming a court magician. Disregarding the advice, Alec resolved to become a court magician himself, aiming to challenge the unjust imperial court. In brief, he successfully attained his objective, becoming a court magician. However, it became apparent that he ought to have feared his teacher as consent. Alec grasped this truth only when Crown Prince Regulus expelled him from his adventuring group. While deep within Adunian, Alec inquired about the reason for his dismissal, and the arrogant blonde prince informed him he was being let go. The prince stated Alec was useless, contrasting him with others who constantly risked their lives battling monsters on the front lines. He mentioned that Lenny, the fair magician, repelled creatures with her spells, and Sepulun, Fairtan, absorbed enemy assault. Conversely, Alec consistently remained at the back, capable of only casting major support magic. Regulus asserted. Regulus declared he had done it for such a lesser in their party, then further disparaged Alec by stating he was not even worthy of the title court magician. Alec attempted to clarify his exclusive use of support magic. Yet, Regulus refused to listen. Lenny conjured, branding Alec a coward lacking the courage. She claimed he was too afraid to venture deeper into the Dunedain and constantly impeded their progress. X also silently assented. Lenny then explained that they had tolerated him thus far only because the king had commanded him to join their group. However, with the princess's decision to dismiss him, she saw no further need for civility. Regulus added that Alec must have achieved his top academic scores through illicit means, perhaps by bribing professor. He then questioned the way Alec possessed a dagger. Commoners were prohibited from carrying weapons. He noted, Alec clarified that the dagger would be essential for the dungeon as next level. Enraged, Regulus confiscated the dagger and seized Alec by the collar, asserting that no one in his party defeated him. The prince then tore off Alec's short wizard robe, declaring him unworthy of it. Alec was utterly crushed by this. With no alternative, he was forced to exit the dungeon. Nevertheless, despite the dismissal and humiliation, he still wished to aid Regulus and the group. He compiled notes containing strategies that could assist Regulus in navigating the lower dungeon levels, particularly given the prince's limited magical abilities. The following day, Alec attempted to visit the king at the palace regarding this matter, but guards intercepted him, informing him that he was no longer a court magician. He was now merely a commoner, and commoners were forbidden from entering the palace. This statement he couldn't enter without authorization. Alec was stunned, and at that moment, Lenny appeared, seemingly to exacerbate his distress. She curtly told him to leave before re-entering the palace. However, Alec implored her to hear him out for a moment. He pleaded with her to deliver his complete notice to the king, explaining that the king himself had appointed him court magician and instructed him to join the prince's party. Lenny took the notice from him, only to immediately rip them apart and trample them underfoot. She then commanded the guards to remove the commoner, leaving Alec utterly despondent and unemployed. While in the heart of the city, he finally understood he should have heeded Elda's counsel and avoided becoming a court magician. Just then, a familiar voice called out his name. Alec spun around to find a red-haired woman gazing at him. Walton rushed forward to embrace him. He paused, trying to comprehend the situation, before finally recognizing her as Yorha, an old friend from his academy days. He settled down to reconnect. Alec recounted to Yorha the events leading to his expulsion from the prince's retinue and his dismissal from the court magician's post. Yorha reacted with fury upon hearing this, condemning the kingdom for its discrimination between nobility and common folk. Alec managed to soften her temper before their outburst attracted attention. Yorha then declared that his dismissal was, in fact, a positive development. Alec, having endured so much hardship over the past 2 days, was unfazed by her remark about his termination. Yorha then reminded him of her old promise that she would one day persuade him to join her adventuring party. Alec recalled the promise, and Yorha disclosed that her presence in the capital was for precisely that purpose. She rose, extending a hand to Alec, inviting him to conquer dungeons alongside her. He was delighted by the proposition. However, having been recently dismissed, they had begun to doubt his own abilities. Yorha, Tauge, dismissed his concerns entirely. She assured Alec that he was the only person she desired for her team, stating that no other magician could fill his role. Overwhelmed with emotion, he promptly accepted her proposal, and Yorha joyfully welcomed him into her Arang party. The following day, Alec departed the country with Yorha, reflecting on Elda's counsel against becoming a court magician. A few days later, news of Alec's departure reached Regulus and his companion. They showed no concern for him whatsoever. Regulus mused about how Alec had once been celebrated as a genius among the academy's students, and how he had great expectations for him. His volunteer time had been squandered because of Alec, but Lenny interjected, assuring them there was no need for concern, as a poor-blooded noble would soon join their ranks, making their party significantly more formidable. Meanwhile, Alec and Yorha arrived in Vizil, known as the City of Dungeons. Yorha explained that the researchers are for rules at Entendra. Fakih to English decision bation numbers. And commoner. She was keen to register Alec as an adventurer without delay. But upon reaching the goal, they encountered an unexpected obstacle. The receptionist informed Alec that he couldn't join Yorha as party because they ventured past Dungeon Floor 30. And he required 2 years of good membership before being permitted to accompany them. Yorha erupted in a fit of anger upon hearing this, demanding the receptionist make an exception for Alec, but her request was denied. Yorha then inquired if her friend, Kraja, had not already discussed this matter with her. The receptionist confirmed that Kraja had indeed visited, threatening them to allow Alec to join. However, the receptionist dealt with eccentric individuals daily and remained unswayed. Alec and Yorha left the guild empty-handed, and showed respect at a public park for lunch. Yorha informed Alec that their party had already reached floor 52 of the Dungeon, and they couldn't afford to wait 2 years for him to join. Nevertheless, she was not on to despair, resolving that if they couldn't access Dungeons beyond floor 30, they would tackle shallower honor as a warm-up. Alec readily agreed to the plan, and he promptly headed to a low-level dungeon teeming with insect monsters. Yorha utilized her reinforcement magic to enhance Alec's agility, and swiftly moved, effortlessly dispatching the creature. However, the situation grew serious when Yorha observed how the insect horde was diminishing, and the monsters appeared to be growing more powerful. Alec concurred, suggesting that an anomaly within the nest must be compelling the monsters to behave in such a manner. Despite this, they maintained control. As they continued battling the creatures, Yorha activated her shield and began pushing forward to locate their nest. Alec warned her that she was undertaking a significant risk, but she dismissed his concern, stating it was nothing. She remarked that he seemed to have lost his sharpness. For the Alec of all, would have found monsters of this caliber trivial. She urged him to trust her and reclaim his true self. Alec understood the veracity of Yorha as worthy. He merely needed to restore his self-assurance to extricate them from their predicament. He recalled Elda as teaching about the necessity of protecting his friend from peril, and drawing motivation from this. He resolved to go on the offensive. Alec rapidly eliminated several monsters with fireballs. He vanquished the remaining ones with his dagger. Immediately after, a massive swarm of monsters encircled them, but Yorha was no longer concerned. She conjured a protective barrier around them, affording Alec the necessary time to prepare a potent, wide area spell that instantly vaporized all the insects. Once the show subsided, Yorha patted him on the back, affirming that he still possessed his skill. Just then, the ground beneath them began to tremble, and a colossal earthworm emerged. It lunged at Yorha, nearly engulfing her. Alec shouted that he would rescue her, and she only needed to activate her shield. Yorha placed her complete trust in him, activating her shield spell as Alec conjured a fire serpent and unleashed it upon the earthworm, reducing it to ash. Yorha remained entirely escaped by the flames. As she descended to the ground, she rushed towards Alec, declaring that he remained the most formidable attack match. She knew, and their battle brought back memories of their academy days. They found themselves in a desperate battle against a formidable five-headed dragon, whose relentless assaults overwhelmed their defense and rendered their weaponry useless. Nevertheless, Alec, having had sufficient time to prepare, annihilated the creature with a solitary incantation. This feat enabled them to conquer the 68th level of the dunya, establishing an unprecedented academy achievement. Alec is set to rejoin the same group of companions with whom he previously vanquished the level 68 booth and subsequently returned to the Magical Academy. They were celebrated as the most exceptional cohort of students the Academy had witnessed in August, a sentiment even shared by their diminutive instructor, Rosie. She recognized a unique quality in chess for individuals, observing how effortlessly they harmonized. Their collaboration exhibited unparalleled synergy, despite returning from the dungeons bearing numerous bruises and lacerations. They were blood green, having just shattered the long-standing record for successfully navigating and completing the 68 dungeon level. They did temporarily surpass the record. They utterly demolished it introducing at the former small property. Had only managed to reach the 32 floor. Eventually, graduation day arrived, and Rosie, the petite instructor, unveiled their academic results. Ryan secured the fourth position, followed by Kraja in third, and Yorha as the runner-up. Concluding the list was Alec, who emerged as the highest scoring student in recent memory and was named the class valedictorian. In first day, they were all joyful and optimistic, playfully mocking their instructor and receiving playful reprimands in return. As they departed the academy together, the remaining students observed with envy, convinced they were witnessing the genesis of one of the finest adventuring groups they would ever encounter. A party destined to achieve legendary renown. Unbeknownst to them, Alec would soon opt against pursuing a career as an adventurer. Instead, he decided to become a court magician. His companions were astonished by this revelation, yet he acknowledged that the role of a court magician offered a relatively less demanding pathway, significantly improved and consistent remuneration. Although this news left them disheartened, they never held it against Alec and extended their best wishes for his future endeavors, with Yorha vowing that one day they would once more form a team. In the present, that pledge appears to be materializing as Yorha and Alec are celebrating in a tavern, where, after consuming merely a single alcoholic beverage, Yorha has become completely intoxicated. She begins to express her frustration regarding the restriction, preventing them from accessing the deeper dungeon levels, but quickly succumbs to sleep right there on the bench. Alec gazes at her with a smile, recalling that she exhibited much the same behavior during their academy days, in a gesture of genuine affection. He drops his jacket over her, ensuring she can sleep more comfortably. However, one of the patrons inside the establishment appears to harbor an aversion to such displays of devotion. Identifying as a Sigma male on a personal quest, he approaches Alec, ridiculing him for what he perceives as beta male characteristics. Alec, however, completely disregards him, inferring that the man, being an admirer of Andrew Tatterton, likely possesses significant anger management problems. Consequently, the man raises his bottle, intending to strike Alec as it, but Alec effortlessly conjures a mana shield to deflect the assault, before calmly turning to confront him. The man grins back, pleased that he has finally garnered some attention. He was already aware that Alec held the position of a court magician. He then asserts that he wouldn't anticipate someone of Alec as the caliber to be wandering about, attempting to become an adventurer. This abrupt shift in the math as demeanor catches Alec off guard, but what astonishes him even more is when the large, bully individual retrieves a card from his pocket. The card professes to be an adventurer Aspas, which he places on the table before Alec. Perplexed, Alec questions his actions. The man simply responded that it serves as a gesture of apology for having tested him with the bottle, but he then introduces an additional stipulation. He states that Alec must demonstrate his magical ability if he wishes to achieve the path. Alec remains bewildered when, unexpectedly, Yorha, the seemingly oblivious one, awakens groggily and addresses the man as the Guildmaster, inquiring about his presence. Alec is momentarily speechless, pondering whether the Guildmaster would simply offer him a pass, but the man appears to possess a remarkably relaxed disposition. He proceeds to hand over the pass before escorting him to a training facility. He explains that this is the subterranean training zone, where he evaluates parties aspiring to advance their ranks, and it is here that Alec will demonstrate his prowess. Yorha interjected, suggesting that this might not be the most opportune moment, given Alec's recent consumption of alcohol. However, Alec asserts that he retains sufficient mana reserves for combat. The Guildmaster formally introduces himself to Alec as Levi, a name that instantly resonates with Alec. He then comprehends that the Guildmaster is, in fact, a highly formidable mage who, some time ago, commanded an S-ranked party. The Guildmaster chuckles, dismissing those achievements as distant memories, and proceeds to outline the conditions. The requirement is straightforward. Alec simply needs to impress Levi with his magical aptitude. With that understanding, both individuals prepare for the sparring session. Alec initiates the encounter by unleashing his offensive Thunderbolt magic. Levi expertly evades the attack, and, in response, employs water magic, launching what appear to be water balloons. Alec successfully dodges these projectiles. Alec discerns that the Guildmaster possesses a distinct advantage in terms of attack range, necessitating a shift in his tactical approach. He resolves to transform the engagement into a close quarters battle, but to his astonishment, instead of retreating, Levi slams his fist onto the ground and applies reinforcement magic to himself, significantly enhancing his speed and charges towards Alec, deftly sidestepping him at the final instant and commencing to orbit him at an astonishing velocity before attempting to deliver a powerful punch. Alec manages to parry the strike with his mana shield, but the immense force of the impact causes the shield to shatter. Consequently, Alec is propelled backward, crashing into the walls. Levi, however, expresses admiration for Alec's resilience, remarking that few individuals could withstand such a blow. Alec emerges from the dust cloud, acknowledging Levi as a genuine S-ranked adventurer, his calm demeanor somewhat bewildering Levi, who had anticipated fear and apprehension. Alec, however, admits he keeps forgetting. He is no longer the court magician, constrained by numerous regulations and limited solely to defensive spells. No unburdened by restriction, he can truly unleash his full repertoire of magical assault. Levi chuckles at it, challenging Alec to attack with all his might. Alec once again brandishes his stiff wood, but this time, he transforms it into a magical blade. Levi prepares for the onslaught, again pelting him with water balloons. Alec skillfully evades the first, then slices stroke the next day. He feigns an offensive move, compelling Levi to reciprocate. This was a calculated ploy, as Levi activates his self-boosting magic and charges towards Alec. Alec springs a trap, blasting him with a thunderbolt before cutting clean through him to the outer sea. Levi remains motionless for a few moments, remarking that Alec is truly exceptional, having already surpassed his magic. Yea, to Alec's astonishment, Levi instantly finished and activates his ultimate ability, summoning magical gauntlets, adorned with dragon's chalice, which grant him an immense surge in power. With his newfound strength, he charges directly at Alec, who narrowly avoids the blow. The impact of the punch brought at he retaliates with a lightning spell, but Levi simply shrugs it off, completely unaffected by the strike. Levi pushes through the attack, attempting to punch Alec, who blocks with his shield but is forced backward. Alec ponders his next move against this formidable opponent. However, Levi reveals more tricks, utilizing a special function of his gauntlets that regenerates his injuries. Levi realizes that prolonging the battle will only diminish his chances of victory, so he intensifies his assault, furiously slashing and hacking at Alec, while manages to parry every single blow, goading Alec to perform better. Alec responds with his own taunt, which infuriates the Guildmaster. The Guildmaster attempts a powerful punch, but Alec dodges, spotting an opening for Cartager, he continues his attack, hitting the wall instead as Alec deftly ducks beneath it. Levi offers no respite, attempting another strike, but Alex successfully blocks it before trying to deliver the decisive blow. To his surprise, the Guildmaster proves far more resilient than he appeared, absorbing the damage before attempting a double-handed smash that fills the air with a cloud of dust. As the dust settles, Alex emerges unscathed and once more targets Levi, but his team, as he strikes the Guildmaster, his stiff wood loses its power, and they collapse, unconscious, having completely depleted his mana. Yorha immediately rushes to his side, using her regeneration magic to heal him. Suddenly, Rain appears in the training ground, mocking Levi for being an SR and KID adventurer who without his strongest skin on a lower ranked individual. Levi tells him to be quiet, explaining he was merely testing alat as limit and would have passed him regardless. With that, Rain picks Alec up and carries him to a room, where he can rest, while Rain inexplicably sits on his legs. They reminisce about how long it's been since they were together lately. When the receptionist bursts into the room, urgently requesting the Guildmaster, Levi grabs her face and pulls her out of the room with him. Will Rain grabs several bottles of booze and asks Yorha to recount everything that transpired with Alec. By the time she finished, Rain was trembling with rage, realizing that his former party members made him carry out their gear, handle their inventory, never allowed him to use a magic beyond defensive spell, and even forbade him from carrying a dagger. He abruptly turns to Yorha, questioning how Alec managed to use defensive magic at all, given it was Rain's specialty at the academy and Alec was never proficient. Yorha explains Alec learned it from scratch, and diligently practiced it until he became skilled. Now, his defensive magic is nearly as good as his. Royal Translation. Even after all his team serving as the Crown Prince's guardian, he still banished him, deeming him worthless. In his anger, he shatters the bottle in his hands, which awakens Alec. Alec is somewhat surprised to see Rain there, while Yorha joyfully explains that the Guildmaster granted him permission. This news delights Alec, as they can now venture into higher level dungeons as a cohesive party. However, Rain states that can wait, as they have so many else to do first. Alec has no idea what he is referring to, but Rain clarifies that they first need to excite revenge to do this. They will infiltrate the royal city and sneak into the palace. Then thoroughly beg the prince and his party. Alec insists that they want to do anything of the sort, and even Yorha asserts that fighting other parties is strictly forbidden. Alec places a hand on Rain's shoulder, telling him that simply enjoying their adventure would be sufficient, as he no longer cares or goals are. What happened to him at court? Rain suddenly declares he has a better idea. All they need to do is become the strongest party in the world. This would undoubtedly infuriate the prince, and if their country ever fights trouble, they would be compelled to seek aid from the world's strongest party, and it would be incredibly satisfying to refuse them directly. Alec understands. He accepted this as the most favorable arrangement, agreeing to establish the world's preeminent party. Elsewhere, in a separate chamber, Krista, an austere adventurer, lay grievously wounded, her breathing labored. The Guildmaster's expression was grim as the receptionist tended to Krista's injuries, knowing that distress for an S-rank team signaled grave danger. Such a predicament indicated the entire guild vice period. Krista conveyed to Levi that her group remained stranded and desperately needed comprehensive aid. Without delay, the Guildmaster convened an urgent assembly, summoning every ranked adventurer. He then declared their objective, a rescue operation on the 64 Floon. Concurrently, in Alex's quarter, he encountered Traija once more after a considerable period. Her two distinct personalities appeared to have harmonized splendidly. She inquired about his absence from the gathering, to which Alec explained he was not an unranked adventurer. Consequently, he had stayed put. She promptly unleashed a healing incantation, instantly mending Alex's wounds entirely, prompting a target. We bandages were being applied to crystal. When healing magic could be used, shortly after, Yor and Ryan made their entrance into the chamber. Ryan, bursting with enthusiasm, exclaimed about their impending rescue mission, and together they briefed Alec on the recent developments. They clarified that this particular dungeon was unique, as magic was ineffective on that level, forcing complete reliance on potions. Given the complete decimation of the strength party, Krista had been dispatched solo to seek assistance. Alec then posed a question to Trish regarding her comfort with operating in that dungeon. Considering her expertise in healing magic, he vehemently responded that she had objected to it. Nevertheless, the impulsive Ryan had overridden her decision, exercising his authority to proceed into the dungeon. A squabble then erupted between them. Your head hand faced Alec, asserting that the ultimate choice of whether to venture into the dungeon rested with him. Given that the world bear the primary and most arduous responsibility of egging the floor as main boss, Alec consented to undertake the mission. Shortly thereafter, he set up for the dungeon. Standing before its entrance, Ryan proclaimed, this moment would herald the genesis of their party as legendary saga. They rapidly arrived at the dungeon as threshold. This dungeon possessed an inherent characteristic that nullified healing magic, compelling them to depend solely on potions. Furthermore, evading assaults was paramount. Krista as fellow guild members were marooned close to the level 64 boss. However, prior to reaching that point, they would be required to conquer all preceding levels, including vanquishing their respective bosses. Ryan comprehended that a level-by-level progression would consume too much time, but Yora produced a mystical crystal. She explained that Krista had provided egg, enabling them to bypass all intermediate level and instantly teleport to level 64. Alec understood this to be an exceptionally vital and uncommon magical artifact, yet Krista's primary concern was the rescue of her comrades. Her focus was solely on their safety to the extent that she had also furnished other group with these crystals to directly access the designated rune. Yorha disclosed that the level 64 boss was reportedly an undead creature, implying Krisha would be largely ineffectual. Given that she herself functioned as a support mage, the bulk of the combat responsibility would inevitably rest solely on Alec. Ryan instructed him to conserve his mana reserves as much as possible, allowing him to dispatch the weaker adversaries as a way to prevent Alec from depleting his magical energy. Before confronting the undead boss, Kraija concurred, issuing a warning that from this juncture onward, they would be literally contending with death incarnate. They ought to approach it with utmost gravity, given that even an S-ranked contingent had been obliterated in this very spot. Yet, rather than being disheartened, Ryan felt an unprecedented surge of vitality and invigorated his companions, proclaiming that the saga of their fabled party commenced at this very moment. Following this, they flung the mystical crystal into the air, and they were instantly transported deep within the dungeon to level 64, materializing inside a gloomy cavern. Instantly, a horde of skeletal undead, brandishing shield and sword, emerged from the earth. Raidi, utterly devoid of fear, lunged at his spine and charged, commencing an assault on the skeletal figures directly ahead. He effortlessly dispatched several add-ons, asserting that level 64 had, until this point, appeared remarkably straightforward. The others, however, remained silent observers. When a new wave of skeletons materialized unexpectedly and began to advance, Ryan courageously sprang towards them. He relentlessly slashed and hacked at every foot that approached, but Yorha began to fret, as Ryan had moved beyond the effective reach of her support magic. She hastened after him, urging him to return, while Alec and Kraija maintained that Ryan would be perfectly alright. This was due to his possession of a formidable ancient artifact, the Piercing Black Spear, renowned for its extreme durability. It maintained its razor-sharp edge perpetually, an ideal weapon for a Mindas wound. Alec then hired Rai, inquiring if he required Anjay. However, Mo responded that this was mere child-as play for him, and he persisted in obliterating every adversary that drew near. Alec overheard Asmel and began to walk alongside him when, without warning, he detected an unusual presence directly behind him and, by instinct, discharged a bolt of lightning in its direction. Once the dust settled, he found no one present, and Evan Kraija appeared perplexed by his actions. He informed her that he believed someone was lurking behind her, but considered it may have been a false alarm. Abruptly, he resolved to investigate further. He unsheathed his sword, then impulsively surged forward, instantly cleaving the empty air. His assault was parried by an unseen entity, which subsequently manifested as the Grim Reaper. Rain then grinned at Alec, remarking that Alec was not as past his prime as he had initially presumed. He then informed Alec that he had already been aware of the invisible foe's proximity. However, he admitted his inadequacy in confronting such adversaries. The Grim Reaper repelled Alec and attempted an assault, but Alec skillfully parried the strike. Prior to retreating back towards Ryan, Alec comprehended that Ryan had unwavering confidence in his capabilities and implicitly trusted him, both as a friend and comrade, to provide protection. From behind him, he recognized that he had not experienced such a profound bond in many years, a realization that invigorated him with renewed energy. After a swift aerial attack with his enchanted blood, instantly vanquishing the Grim Reaper, he pivots to face Yorha. He questioned Yorha if she was also aware, prompting her immediate apology for the omission. Krisha interjected, advising him to address his concerns with Ryan instead, given that Ryan was the original proposer. Alec offered Ryan Asmel and Vo to repay the gesture a later date. Ryan retorted that their immediate priority was escaping the dungeon alive. Subsequently, the quartet of companions drew closer together, poised to confront every adversary. Alec and Ryan swiftly launched themselves towards the skeletal undead. They relentlessly cut down the skeletons from all directions, while Yorha provided magical support. Ryan, brimming with confidence, executed elaborate combat maneuvers. He eliminated every skeleton in his path. Concurrently, Kraja demonstrated her exceptional archery precision with her bow to eliminate any skeletons attempting to ambush Ryan. Yorha, meanwhile, found herself compelled to fend off attackers using her enchanted staff. Realizing the seemingly endless onslaught of skeletal foes, Alec summoned his companions back to his side. He declared his intention to eradicate them in a single strike. His allies promptly converged behind him as he began channeling a potent thunderbolt ability. The skill unleashed a devastating lightning blast across the entire vicinity, incinerating all skeletons into blackened remnants. With the immediate threat neutralized, Ryan turned and inquired of Alec who exclusively employed his thunderbolt skill, given his past proficiency with various other offensive magical disciplines. During his time at the academy, Alec promptly fabricated an explanation, informing him that Thunderbolt was the fastest spell to conjure, hence his reliance on it. However, Ryan sensed that Alec was concealing something, but chose not to pursue the matter, acknowledging her pressing time limitations. Abruptly, a monstrous roar echoed through the air, emanating from it. Leading him to surmise it was the boss chamber. Ryan instantly braced himself, and, bolstered by Yorha's enhancement magic, he sprinted towards the source of the sound with incredible speed. Alec found himself impressed by both Ryan's swiftness and Yorha's magical prowess. Aha and the two female companions trailed Ryan to the tunnel as exit. Upon emerging into the open space, they discovered Ryan perched on Alec, observing a colossal monster relentlessly pursuing a bull-haired adventurer across the area. Alec instantly felt compelled to rescue the individual, but Ryan appeared largely unconcerned, stating that the fleeing mage was named Loki. "Whoa," he added, was the most insufferable member of a party known as Recroma. Kraja Avermentis, noting Loki's reputation as an exceptionally cunning support magician. Alec, however, struggled to process this information. All while Loki desperately ran, pitifully yelling at Rain for assistance. Vowing to haunt him daily should perish in this spot. Ryle, nonetheless, appeared utterly unfazed by his threats, and continued to observe with undetached eye. However, when Loki stumbled to the ground, an HCML the monster was about to seize him. Alec instantly prepared to intervene. Kraja, conversely, advised him to hold back and simply observe. Explaining that this was Loki's characteristic approach, Alec watched as the creature advanced towards Loki, when abruptly, a trap spell was triggered directly beneath it, engulfing it in a blast of molten lava. Alec was to not be deceived, while Kraja reiterated that Loki was indeed a highly cunning magician. The creature reeled, inadvertently triggering yet another trap spell, which subjected it to several additional bursts of fire. Loki then spun around, beginning to mock the monster, asserting that only a fool would stumble in such a predicament. His grin, however, quickly faded as the enraged monster opted to conclude the encounter with a potent magical explosion. Loki understood he was facing imminent death and would have perished had Rain not intervened to save him at the absolute final moment. Loki was astonished to find himself still alive as Alec and the female companions descended to confront the foe. The monster attempted to strike Alec, but Jorah shielded him with her magical barrier. Alec then attempted to deploy his thunderspan, only to be met with a surprise. The creature abruptly pivoted and began to charge directly at Rai and Loki. Alec cried out, alerting them to the impending peril. He unleashed another thunderbolt spell, striking the monster squarely. Yet, as the dust settled, he became clear realization that his magical attack lacked the necessary power to halt its advance. Ryu, in turn, understood that the monster was rapidly closing in on him. Consequently, he employed a desperate maneuver, turning towards the creature and darting between its legs to evade it. He then hurled Loki towards Kreisha, who subsequently tumbled to the ground with the cunning support mage. Meanwhile, Jorah instructed Kreisha to escort Loki to the safety of the ledge while he engaged the monster. Rain instantly assumed a fighting stance, and drew his spear, poised for combat. They held their ground until Kraja had safely delivered Loki, then prepared for the ultimate confrontation. Jorah employed her magic to enhance all of Rain's attributes. He then charged the monster, skillfully evading its assault, before leaping into the air to deliver a powerful spear thrust directly to its face. However, the creature proved far more resilient than he had anticipated. As it violently shook Rai, managing to fling him to the ground, Jorah immediately hurried towards the injured Rai. But the monster instantly attempted to crush him. Fortunately, Jorah successfully conjured her shield magic, deflecting the attack and providing Rain a crucial moment to recuperate. Alec, meanwhile, appeared to be conducting an unseen orchestra. She conjured 5 intricate magic circles around the colossal beast. Loki remarked that conjuring even 3 magic circles was a considerable feat, and for Alec to manifest 5 simultaneously indicated exceptional genius. Kraja responded that Alec was capable of far more, and to Loki's astonishment, Alec successfully generated 20 magical circles in a single instant. The monster attempted to charge them, but Rain leapt onto its body and plunged his weapon into its tail, thereby granting Alec the necessary time to complete his incantation. Rain dismounted the creature, just as Alec finalized his preparations, and unleashed a devastating combination of thunderbolt magic upon the beast, immobilizing it with a powerful shockwave. However, as Alec moved to deliver the finishing blow, to everyone's astonishment, the creature deftly sidesteps the subsequent assault. The monster then promptly begins to power up its own magical projectile, but Raja employs an enchantment to temporarily incapacitate its vision, as Yorha simultaneously conjures a magical incantation that manifests enormous chains, immobilizing the creature. Rain capitalizes on this opportunity, wielding his spear like a thrown weapon, successfully impaling the beast through its cranium. Alec prepares to deliver the final blow, but to their astonishment, the monster remains mobile and opts to unleash its potent magical attack once more. Yet Alec stands resolute and fearless, preparing a mystical incantation. Known primarily to individuals across the globe, his mentor, Eldas, Wu Davis Egg, and Alec himself, Wu acquired the knowledge from Eldas. The instant the creature launches its magical projectile at Alec, he deploys a reflective enchantment, sending it back with the force. Despite this, the monster proves incredibly resilient, managing to endure Aventis assault. Barely clinging to existence, the creature attempts the same incantation once more. However, this time Alec combines his reflective magic with the formation of numerous arcane circles, involving the beast in a colossal conflagration, incinerating it to cinders, as Rain delivers the Coup de Guerre, by cleaving the monster as skull into. With this, they begin to revel in their triumph, but an interruption disrupts their festivities. Expressing gratitude to Alec for his assistance, informing him that he is aware of his identity as the royal enchanter. Alec replies that he resigned from that position, and Loki remarks that it's a detriment to the prince and his entourage. He then delivers a shocking revelation, asserting that the creature he battled was not the true guardian of the level, but rather a subordinate leader, foolish enough to pursue him and become separated. This disclosure deeply stuns Alec and his companions, who ponder the might of the genuine boss if a mere sub-boss presented such a challenge. Loki then discloses that the subordinate leader is, in fact, a necromancer disguised as a knight clad in dark plaid. His statistical corporeal assaults appear largely ineffectual, serving only to gain a brief reprieve. He then directs his attention to Alec, and offers a magical staff top up with a cruciform design. Alec appears to identify it as Loki divulge that it is an antique relic, and the staff instantly transforms into a blade within Alec's grasp. Ryan, however, remains skeptical, questioning why Loki would part with such a precious object. But Loki merely chuckles, asserting his intention to deploy Alec as a decoy in the front line. Evarion is taken aback and bewildered beasts. But Loki clarifies that Alec projects the image of a feeble sorcerer, and positioning him at the forefront would make him appear to be a simple mark. They'll be luring the boss towards them. This would allow them to orchestrate an ambush and vanquish the boss, and bask in the renown of conquering an S-ranked creature. However, this concludes the current video. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for viewing, and I look forward to our next encounter.